I want to know your definition of communism, real quick.
Let's just start with common ownership of the means of production.
Okay, and the abolition of classes?
I don't know what that means.
That means demolishing class society.
Are you a leftist or a right-winger, first of all?
I'm a leftist, but leftism is infantile.
All right, we got a retard. All right, so, because I talk differently based on who I'm talking about, based on where to level with them, where they're at. So you're a leftist, and you think Marx talked about abolishing classes politically, right? Is that what you think?
Politically and economically.
How do you abolish classes as an act of will if classes have their origins in material relations of production?
Well, you destroy their relationship of like economic production if they're petty bourgeois or bourgeois.
And this is an act of this is done by political fiat as an act of will.
What do you mean?
Either Marx is a materialist or he's an idealist who thinks that things in our minds can just voluntarily change material reality because we want to. Which one is it?
It's materialist. It's through the will of the workers, obviously.
It don't matter whose will it is. It's obviously delegated to some central power that's enforcing some ideas. So you have to address the question, is Marxism materialist, which understands that there are economic laws of development over which our will cannot alter according to consciousness, or can we just change the entire economy based on whatever the fuck we want to do?
We can change the entire economy by abolishing the economy through evolution. And you're right when he distorts communism.
No, you don't abolish the damn economy. All right, let me ask you a question. Why does Marx say there are stages of socialism?
What?
Why did Marx say there were stages of socialism? Can you answer that simple question?
Because he believes that there was a transitionary state into communism.
Why is there a necessity for a transitionary state?
Because you have to get rid of the old bourgeois society.
Okay, why does that need to be gradual or a transitionary?
I don't think it has to be gradual or transitionary.
Exactly. So instead of doing the laughing emoji, stop pretending you know anything about Marxism or that you're a Marxist. And
okay. One question, real quick. Do you know the formula?
You're not a Marxist
for the rate of exploitation. Do you know the formula for the rate of exploitation, real quick?
Yeah, you're not a Marxist. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
You know what the formula is, though?
No, we're not doing this.
We're going to.
All right. If I answer your question, do I get $500? What do I get?
Fuck no. You get educated. You get educated. Because I want to know. Do you consider union?
You read the simplest, most politically charged mathematical formula in Capital, right? And that you think that makes you an expert on Marxism, like you know anything about Marxism?
No, I just want to ask you a question real quick on this, though. Like, do you think union workers are the proletariat? Like workers that get average $80,000 to $100,000 a year. Do you think those are workers?
It depends what jobs, what they're working at.
Fucking longshoremen, the AFL, CIU.
Sure, yeah, proletarians.
Those are proletarians. The rate of exploitation, which is, surplus divided by wages.
Hey, Cabral. You read volume 3. Whatever you say about the rate of exploitation, just remember that it only applies at the aggregate level. Its surplus value doesn't get produced at the relative level all the time, or even most of the time. It gets produced at an aggregate average rate across all of society. So if you'd know that if you read volume 3. So in any given industry, you can't successfully measure the production of surplus value in one industry alone. You have to look at the entire economy in aggregate first, and then see how different industries are distributing that surplus value to the entire economy's rate of growth. And Marx discovered that in volume 3. And for you to only talk about volume 1, where Marx is just pretty much giving his take on classic political economy, not actually resolving the problems, but just presenting them, shows me you're an uneducated who's talking out of their ass out of arrogance, doing this laughing emoji.
So let's do the rate of exploitation, though, in just an industry. And we do that for the CFL,
you can't,
the LFL, and the CIU.
Retard. If you're a Marxist...
All I'm saying is blue-collar union workers are not working class.
Did you read volume 3? Did you read volume?
I'm reading through it currently, but nonetheless.
So hold on. If you didn't read volume 3,
union workers are labor aristocracy. First world union workers are labor aristocracy, and they get the benefits from global imperialism.
You fucking retard. You can't
I'm
measure
not.
the production
That's
of
third
surplus
world
value.
Marxist Leninist Maoist theory.
You can't measure the production of surplus value only in one industry. You can't. It's not possible.
Bro, you're goofy, bro.
Yeah, that's your response. You're goofy.
Well, okay. I'm just saying is that there's obviously benefits that first world union workers get from imperialism.
Okay.
That make them above third world workers, which make them a bourgeois working class or a labor aristocracy.
Cabral, I keep hearing this claim. Do you think that the U.S. having more developed productive forces might just have a little bit to do with why people are wealthier on average than in the third world? Do you think wealth?
Yeah, that comes from colonialism and imperialism, bro.
Wait a second.
How do you think America got that surplus?
All right. Do you think though that colonialism alone creates wealth? You don't actually have to have a scientific development of the productive forces, modernization and modern science. You don't think that's got nothing to do with it?
That was capitalism and colonialism. That literally,
How does colonialism by itself increase the productive forces? You can take
genocide hundreds of thousands of millions of people. You steal their land, and then you have a labor aristocracy develop on top of it with the benefits.
You can take a gun. You can kill as many indigenous people and steal as much resources and land with it as much as you want. But if you're not using those resources in a modernized industrial way, it's not going to produce any new wealth.
It did even under primitive accumulation through slavery.
Like I said, even when we talk about slavery, when you talk about the Civil War, slavery could not industrialize the South. It could not. And Marx wrote about that. If you read Marx, you'd know that. The only way that profits could expand in slavery is by expanding, first of all, the slave trade and expanding the expansion through land. There was no way to produce wealth through industry under the paradigm of slavery, and that was one of the leading causes of the Civil War.
What, slavery definitely made wealth? The fuck you mean, bro? Literally, it was such an expansive industry that even like the fucking lumber yards in Minnesota, not in the South, all that wood went to building fucking ships for slavery.
Are you talking to yourself?
I'm talking to you.
How old are you?
Doesn't matter.
Are you on Ritalin or Adderall?
No.
Because I just told you. Okay, first of all, you need to be muted right now, just so you can shut the fuck up for a second. One thing. As I just said.
Just let me finish real quick.
Just to be clear, okay? As I just said. I didn't deny that the slave economy ever expanded. I denied that it could expand through industry. Industry is when you produce wealth on the same given land, let's say with the same given resources. But if the only manner by which you accumulate profits and capital is by expanding your specific unit of production, let's say through land geographically as Marx described, that is not an industrial way of producing wealth. And that's what I fucking said. But you skipped over it and made it seem like I wasn't saying it produced any profit in the first place. So why are you such a fucking retard on Ritalin or Adderall who can't even keep up with the conversation? You're a fanatic, ideological fanatic, determined to just arrive at whatever conclusion you have in your head, not willing to accept the possibility there's a perspective out there that contradicts yours. Go ahead.
If I remember right, your real name is Mr. Iser, right? First name Colonizer? Come on, that's funny.
What country do you live in?
I'm Oglala Lakota, bro. I belong to the Lakota Nation.
You're like registered part of the tribe? You're part of the Lakota tribe? Like,
yup.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm just saying get the fuck out of here with your revisionism, bro. Like,
it's my fellow water protectors.
Hold on, Paul. Let me handle this. So you're calling me a revisionist. You don't know the basics of Marxism, nor do I think you care about the basics of Marxism. Why is it that so few indigenous people agree with your perspective?
I mean, a lot of my people do agree with my perspective. The same way that you're distorting communism, the way you talk about it.
All right.
When I talk with my people,
yeah,
they believe in their ideology of their culture, which is primitive communism according to Marx.
Sure. But they don't. First of all, they don't believe in your dumbass MLM Gonzalo bullshit.
I'm not a Gonzalo, and
Well, what kind are you?
I'm a fourth worldist and a third worldist.
Well, they don't. Nobody gives a damn about that. Indigenous people want to drill on their land. They want to open up casinos and they want to produce wealth.
No, they don't, bro. The tribal council wants to open casinos. It's called neocolonialism. If you read anything, you would understand that the mass majority of working class people on the res don't benefit from that. And let alone, Pine Ridge can't even open casinos. South Dakota has casinos and gas stations.
So that's your perspective. That's not the perspective of your people. It's your perspective. Anyway.
Pine Ridge is the second poorest county in America. My reservation is the second poorest county in America. My people are actually exploited instead of you middle class fucking asses in here.
But you're being exploited, and you're spending your time being exploited debating the.
Yes, because you're a revisionist. You're a danger, a threat, and an enemy to the working class.
How is that? Go ahead.
How is that?
Yeah.
You're okay with ableist slurs and homophobic slurs.
How is that a threat?
That is a threat because it's not truly about people who are exploited and oppressed. That is gathering people around right-wing populism. What you are, or even left-wing populism. You are a populist. You're not teaching people how to think or how to analyze. You're inserting, this is the idea. This is the truth.
Even if that was true, you're just naming things I'm not doing. How does that make me a threat?
That is what you're doing. That is what you're doing.
Yeah, you're naming things. You're like saying, oh, you're not doing it properly. Okay. But how does that make me a threat?
It deters actual working class people from possible revolution when you open spaces like this.
So you're saying I am reaching out to the working class.
I'm saying yes, but you're distorting communism. And you are distorting what revolution really means.
Okay. So I'm successfully reaching the working class. You're
not successfully. You're a populist. And if you want to say successfully, it's not about your base. It is about your politics. You want to play numbers game? You just sound like another fucking electorate.
Okay. You have to calm down. Either I'm a threat who's successful, or I'm not a threat because I'm not successful. Which one is it? You
are a threat because you are in a populist space. That does not make you successful. That just makes you a fucking opportunist.
How does being in a populist space make me a threat? What difference do I make? Either I make a difference and I'm successful, or I make no difference and I'm a failure. So which one is it?
Fucking Trotsky was successful in a lot of spaces, and he was a revisionist and a populist. Like, what do you mean? You know that populists are a threat to revolution if you're a real Marxist.
Because there was a communist movement, and there was the Soviet Union, and Trotsky wrecked a lot of that. So what equivalent role am I playing?
You're the Nazi Trotskyist, bro. That's what you are. You're a Trotskyist pretending to be a communist.
I can level with you there too. How is it rational to assume I'm pretending to be a communist? Why would I do that?
Because you would understand no form of exploitation is right.
No, I'm not asking you. Hold on. I'm not asking you your reasoning for why you accuse me of not being a real communist. Why would I pretend to be a communist? What incentive do I have to do that?
Opportunism.
And what's my opportunity from doing that? Getting a bunch of on me like a fucking like a goddamn
transphobic homophobic. No, the way that you're doing it is trying to build this base with a bunch of middle class peoples. Is that you're like Mussolini?
Hold on, but what incentive do I have to pretend to be a communist?
For power, the same way Mussolini.
Why not just be an outright right-winger? Why do I pretend to be a communist? It don't make any sense.
Mussolini pretended to be a communist for most of his career. Like, come on. It's still opportunism.
You know what the difference is? Is that there was a huge Italian socialist movement. That doesn't exist in the USA. And if there is, if you're going to say the DSA, American Left, is some socialist movement, I am not trying to blend in with those people. I hate those people, and they know I hate them. So what incentive do I have to pretend to be a fucking communist, you fucking retard?
You're simply just an opportunist. You have a little
opportunity. And what's my opportunity? What's the opportunity I'm taking?
For potential political power.
So you're saying this is going to be a vehicle for me to get to power?
I mean, I imagine that's your hope, right? Isn't that why you organize?
So do you believe in me then, or you think I'm never going to be successful? What do you think?
I actually take you as a serious threat. A lot of people just say you're stupid or say you're a Fed. I think you are a serious threat.
You believe in the potential of the CPUSA 2036 initiative. You do think we're going to build a communist party.
I don't think the CPUSA will, but I think you'll easily shift positions over time as you see like that real communists don't fuck with your homophobia and transphobia and
I'm well
colonialist
aware.
attitude.
I don't. You don't need to wait. I'm well aware.
Yes, and so you will start just being more and more an opportunist over time. You're going to become
Hey,
mascots, just like
buddy.
Mussolini did.
How long have you been calling yourself a Marxist? How long?
Dude, I don't call myself a Marxist. I
Well,
call myself a third
how long have you
worldist.
been calling yourself a communist? How long
I
have
don't
you
know,
been reading
man.
Karl
2,
Marx?
3 years.
Okay, so me, that's about over a decade. So I'm well aware
Okay.
of what I'm
You
well
can
aware.
still be wrong. Dude, why do you play your numbers games? Trotsky called himself a communist forever. Your
Well,
fucking shit's still stupid.
what I'm trying to tell you is that I'm well aware of what the Western left is. Finding out that Western leftists is not going to change my worldview on anything. I'm well aware of it. I'm not underestimating the extent to which Western quote-unquote communists are retards. I'm well aware of it, okay, just to be clear. So there's going to be no shift on my part, at least not because of that. Now, you're saying that I'm a danger and I'm a threat, which means you're flattering me by saying you truly believe in the possibility that I'm going to succeed in doing what I'm doing. But if you
I don't think you'll succeed on a national level because, like, a lot of MAGA folk don't take you seriously
so
either.
on what
But
level do you think? Okay, so how am I a threat then?
because you're going to shift at least a number of people. I don't think it'll be national level, but I think there's a number of people in this space that you have shifted even further right with your populist practices.
And why is it? How is that even a significant amount?
It doesn't fucking matter how many. You are still a threat. Fucking Trotskyist parties are never going to influence anyone. And then when I see a Trotskyist, I talk my shit.
First of all, you don't know what you're talking about. You can't call me a Trotskyist.
No, yeah, because you're more fascistic. You're more like a Mussolini.
All Mussolini, Hitler, and Trotsky had in common was that they wrecked and tried to hijack real existing socialist communist movements, which is not what I'm doing, because none of those movements exist in my view.
You're a joke, man. You're a joke.
How is that a response?
How is that a response? The response is just like, man, either you're an opportunist or you're an operative. Either way, it is a threat to actual revolution, because you are distorting people's political potential.
You're saying I'm distorting people's political potential, but if it's even a negligible amount, then I'm successful at what I do. I'm either a threat or I'm not a threat. If I'm a threat, then I'm successful. If I'm not a threat, then I'll never be going anywhere.
The smallest reactionary, who might only infect like 5 people in their lives, are still a threat. I don't give a shit how many numbers you have. Your reaction must be combated, and you must be fought against. You are an enemy to the people. And now my friend is here, so I'm going to leave. But come on, bro.
No. You're gonna have to explain why I'm a reactionary and all that as well.
Maybe on a different time, bro. I don't got time to debate with Nazis, bro.
How am I Nazi? And we never get that answer. He left. We never get the answer. We never get that one. Got a whole lot of people talking about it and opposing it, but who wants to come on and debate it? We'll take people from the left and the right, but before you come on, you got to specify where you're coming from, and I'll debate you. S-Can police, go ahead. Left or right, where you coming from?
The left.
Oh, great. Okay, what's your objection to Maga Communism? And is it because you think it's Nazi, or is it because you think it's a bad, failed strategy? Go ahead.
I just got here, so I haven't been listening. It's a failed strategy.
Why is that?
There's no chance that you're going to get MAGA people, anti-communist MAGA people, to become communists. Why not appeal to the LGBTs, the minorities, the liberals? It's easier to convince them.
Based on what ideology or material class interests?
What's the average income of a Trump voter versus a Biden voter?
Why do you think income? First of all, why do you think income is what determines class interests?
It's not necessarily, but it can be a good indicator.
It's by no means a sufficient indicator. You look at what people do for a living and how they get by for a living. That's what you do.
So is a Starbucks worker in the same class as, like, a trucker? What's the difference there?
The difference is that a Starbucks worker is a social parasite and a trucker isn't. The interest of a Starbucks worker is the interest of BlackRock and monopoly capital. The interest of a trucker is opposed to that. It's in the interest of labor instead of capital. So there you go. A trucker who works for a living, makes an income and makes a living based on the work that they do. A Starbucks employee gets their revenues from financial rents that they perform services in exchange for. So it's totally different. Totally different interests. Now, if someone who just happens to be a service worker works at Starbucks, but hates, doesn't have any commitment to that job or attachment to that job, their interests could align with the working class because they're just doing it to get by. But somebody who wants to reproduce their job as a Starbucks laborer or worker, to put these in quotation marks, that's a class enemy of the working class.
Well, I don't think anyone wants to reproduce their job. The Starbucks
what's going on with this unionization is they're trying to do craft unionism, where they basically make Starbucks unionized and entitled to all these benefits, basically attaching people to this job. And that's craft unionism. It's got nothing to do with general labor's interests.
Is the argument that they're not producing anything of worth?
The argument is that the existence of the service industry is from financial capital. And I say financial capital because the service industry is based on rent. Its existence is based on the distribution of rents for financial capital. It's not based on labor. There's no labor process directly involved in the service industry. It just takes labor from actual productive industries and redistributes it in a way that's beneficial to finance capital.
What do you mean MAGA is communist? Do you mean like MAGA is Marxist-Leninist? Like, what do you mean by communism?
Not officially communist, but it's materially communist in Marx's sense. The real movement to sublate the present state of things, whose real premises are now in existence. Well, the premise is now in existence. The real movement is MAGA. That's the real movement. You begin from MAGA, or you go home and you begin from nothing. I mean, to be a communist in the USA, a lot of people think it means to be a bleeding heart liberal who wants to take extra steps. It means MAGA. That's the movement of the working class. Take it or leave it. If you don't believe in the movement of the working class, you don't like them, don't be a communist.
Are you a are you a Dengist? What do you think about China?
I admire China. Great country, prosperous country, most successful communist state in the history of the world.
Isn't the MAGA movement pro-antagonistic with China?
Not inherently.
Is a MAGA thing just to kind of appeal to both sides, or is it actually serious?
It's serious. The only politics that exists in America is MAGA. There's politics, and then there's the hegemony, right? You can formulate any policies you want, but you're either in the hegemony or you're out of it. The only place to be out of the hegemony is MAGA and be political. So you can so for example, if you're a leftist who says, "Oh, I don't want to vote Democrat," I mean, it's not about voting in general, but if you're like, "I'm not with the Democrats," and you say, "I'm outside of the hegemony," well, then you're not political. You don't have a political existence. The only political force, the only political basis and foundation for opposing the status quo in America is MAGA. There's nothing else. It's MAGA or it's nothing. MAGA is the only possible context that could give meaning to what communism is in America right now. It's the only context that makes it meaningful. Any other context, communism, what's the point of it? What does it even mean? What purpose does it serve?
So what happens if so MAGA people are materially communists, the movement at least. What happens if there are like committed anti-communists in the MAGA movement? Whether
what how can you be an anti-communist?
How do you deal with those people are like in charge? Would you if you can't convince them, how would you deal with those people?
How can you be anti-communist if there's no communists?
Internationally, they've always been anti-communists. Like, there's been communism outside of the U.S. that's been tried, and they are against that.
Then how come every time Trump talks about China's internal model, he always praises it? He always praises whatever systems they have. He never condemns their systems. He just vaguely talks about China badly. When it actually gets down to talking about the things the Chinese do. You know, Trump himself was going to adopt some of aspects of China's economy with infrastructure-based economic growth in his presidential cabinet. in his administration at first, and then was all put to an end by people outside forces.
So the MAGA movement is a Trump movement, right? Like he created the phrase. It's his hats. Like
He's just a mascot of it. He's a mascot.
But to the people, do the MAGA, do his followers, like once he's gone, those people kind of dissipate? Like I don't see them. I don't see them ever supporting another mascot.
You need a leader to unify around, and Trump as a mascot is effectively doing that right now. But where do you go from there? You gotta pick up from somewhere. That's where people are right now. MAGA. You want like a communist party to lead them instead of Trump? You gotta begin with what they're at. You know, you gotta meet them where they're at right now. You gotta understand what Trump means for them, what that mascot means, and you begin from there. I don't think Trump's going to be viable in the long term. I don't. Definitely not. And I want a communist party to lead the masses. I don't want one guy who's just a mascot. But that's
why
what
do you call them the masses, though? If it's only a percentage of the population, like obviously less than half, and
I don't worry about the numbers. I worry about the impact it makes on U.S. politics. The numbers are always going to be, it means very little. You go into some communities, and they're MAGA communities, and other communities are not. There's libtard communities, there's MAGA communities, and there's neutral communities. And that's just a fact of America. It's split down the middle.
I feel like in Michigan, if you go to MAGA communities, like you'll see one thing, and then like I'm from Florida. If you go to like MAGA communities in South Florida, you see one thing very different, where it's like retirees, people whose like class interests.
But I feel like those different. I feel like the retirees in Florida are not solid MAGA. I don't think they're loyal like the people here are. Michigan, they're loyal. Retirees, not inherently loyal.
Have you ever seen like the villages, like the huge retirement community, like have you ever heard about?
Yeah, I've seen I've seen these things in Florida. Those people could go to DeSantis. They could go to any Republican. It's only the Midwest blue-collar workers who are ride or die for Trump. Appalachians. Those are people who are ride or die for Trump. Those are people who are MAGA to the core, But there's people in Florida. And Florida's a retiree service economy. They don't really have a huge working class base in the South. North might be different, but
I think the Midwest MAGA, that's just a small. You don't worry about the numbers, but I mean, the U.S. is a service economy, so if you're going to build a movement, you have to reach out to the service workers. There's more of them than there are.
You reach out to them after you've built a base in the working class core. There's always an advanced core of the proletariat. You build a base there, general labor, and then you reach out to others on the basis of that interest. That's why you have to have a proletarian-led movement. And service workers can go one way or the other. I think majority service workers will go to the proletarian movement, but they will not lead it. That's all I'm saying. They're not going to lead it. They're going to go to it after you build a basis in the real working class, and then you win over the service workers. But there's going to be a significant number of service workers. I'll put it at 20 to 30%, I would guess off the top of my head, of service workers will side with the ruling class.
In what, like a war?
In any political class struggle, they'll side with the ruling class.
So, do you advocate voting or some type of revolution?
Nope, I advocate going down to the people and building an organization and movement based in working for the people, spreading the message to the people, building close contacts with the masses, building a mass movement, addressing people's everyday needs and problems, becoming a fighting force for the working class, for the people, becoming an army of the working class where you're going to fight and defend them. Eventually we'll have a bunch of lawyers, we'll have doctors, we'll have all sorts of people who will defend the working class's interests.
The doctors are going to defend their own interests. They're going to...
Yeah, that's why I'm saying eventually. Not immediately. Eventually. Only when we built a good, solid basis. All right, I'm going to bring in Landon. Go ahead, Landon. Left or right?
What y'all talking about, homies?
Where are you coming from, the left or the right?
Nah, I'm saying, like, what y'all talking about? Like,
we're talking about MAGA Communism.
The fuck is that?
Well, what do you mean, what is that?
Yeah, like, what is it?
Well, MAGA Communism is this growing movement to turbocharge MAGA into a working class movement where we take the whole country back, give it back to the people instead of Wall Street and the bankers.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
a lot to take. I said that's a lot to take in at one time, but I think I got it.
Basically, we don't
Where y'all
like the
from?
special interests, and we think the only way to defeat the Democrats is to have a core working class movement. Truckers, miners, railroad workers,
That is.
longshoremen, people who control the ports, the trucks, just like the Canadian Freedom Convoy, all uniting with their power to, assert the interests of the people, not the elites. That's what it's about.
That's a cool shit.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm gonna let
Where are you calling in from?
Covington, Virginia.
Virginia?
Yeah,
How's that this time of year? Good and hot or what?
man. Yeah, too hot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I'm in Michigan. It's usually cold here and it's real hot up here, so I can only imagine in
Yeah.
Virginia.
I know, right?
What do you do for a living?
Well, I'm only 14, but
What?
yeah, I work.
Oh,
I work.
all right. Sorry, man, but you gotta get older. Okay, this is adult only space. All right. Jesus Christ, got children in here. What the hell's going on?